Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to explain why banking is a virtue and why it is what makes Western civilization great. Oh man, with all these provocative phrases like the virtue of banking and diversity is our strength, I'm starting to turn into Ayn Rand a little bit here with her whole like the virtue of selfishness title that's more meant to like provoke people. Although I do defend the term selfishness here, but it very much meant to provoke people. So yeah, let's get. But anyways, regardless of that, let's get into the video. So I'm basically the title of this video claims that banking is a virtue. Banking is something that is good, and this might surprise a lot of people. Christianity views usury, which is basically the charging of interest on a loan. It views that as a sin. It views that as something immoral, something that's selfish. Now, me being someone who defends selfishness, who views selfishness as a virtue, would obviously have to view banking as a virtue because banking is inherently selfish. It's somebody who decides that, oh, I'm going to look out for my own interests here and give somebody a loan and basically ask them for more back. Inherently a selfish thing. But it's virtuous. It is what a big aspect of what makes Western civilization great. It's a big aspect of what boosts economies. It's a big aspect of Western greatness, of economic strength, and a big aspect of what makes capitalism such a good system. So basically, why is banking good? Well, first of all, why would I, if I'm a banker, why would I give somebody a loan without knowing that I'm going to get more back in return? Why would I just not hold on to the money and keep it there? You're essentially, with interest, you're essentially paying the banker back for the fact that they're giving you this money now rather than you having to save up for it. And you're also paying them for the use of their money now. That's essentially what you're doing. And that's perfectly a good thing. If you feel like you want this money now and you want to spend it now rather than in the future and you're willing to make that trade, perfectly voluntary, perfectly voluntary. It's perfectly fine. I'm fine with anything of that sort. And this is what leads to a lot, these sort of transactions are what leads to a lot of economic progress. Because let's say that I am a businessman and I have a good idea for a product that I want to make. This is just very general. I like to speak in general terms about these things. So I would, let's say I don't have the capital, basically. I don't have the ability to start this business. I can go to a bank and basically ask them for a loan. Say, oh yeah, I want $1,000 loan to start this business. And I don't have $1,000 right now to spend. That might be a little small, but it's just a number. It's not meant to be super concrete about anything. So you go to the bank, you ask for this loan, and the bank decides, is this person going to be able to pay back this loan? This is very much long-term thinking. And if the bank decides yes, and they do that, then they basically charge two interest rates. They charge the one for inflation, plus the one of like just the fact that you are giving them this money, or they are letting you use this money for a short time, and they don't get to spend this money right now. Or actually, since they're using other people's money here, it's essentially them saying that, okay, if you're going to take this money out of the bank right now, or take this loan out of the bank right now, I'm not going to be able to give this money back to a person who deposited it. So you're going to have to pay me a little extra on the side so that I can, well, for one, pay interest on the bank account, but for two, be able to pay this person back in the future. And basically, if someone defaults on a loan, you want to have some sort of like safety net, essentially. So this is why you have to charge interest on a loan. You want to have a safety net if someone defaults on a loan and can't pay it back. You want to have this interest as kind of like something to make it safe, so that if someone doesn't pay it back, then you'll still generally accumulate wealth so that you'll be able to pay back other people's deposits in the future. So this is obviously something that's good, because you're essentially using savings, you're converting that into investment, you're investing in businesses. This is one aspect of the whole argument against like rich people just hoarding their money and not doing anything with it. No, it goes to a bank, and the bank goes and invests it out to other people who want to start a business, or other people who want to buy certain things, or who want to make long-term investments. So yeah, because necessarily when a bank loans something out, it's usually for someone to make a long-term investment. They're not going to loan it out if the person isn't going to spend it in a way that they will lead them to making more money in the future. That would make no sense. If you're a bank and someone's going to take a loan out, spend the money, and not make it back in any way, there's no reason to do that. You should never do that. So a lot of people, when they take a loan out, they'll go and start a business. This also basically solves the problem that a lot of anti-capitalist people talk about with regards to people needing capital to start a business. So how are poor people going to start a business? How is some lower middle class person who has this good idea, how are they going to start a business? They go to a bank, get a loan. If their idea is good and it's going to be profitable, the bank will give them this loan. I'm sure there will be examples where something unjust happens. That's what we have charity for, when there's someone who unjustly falls behind. But most people who fall behind in a capitalist system, it would not be for unjust reasons. I get into this in a lot of other videos. This bank basically ensures that businesses are started even when the person doesn't have the capital to start it. That these prosperous businesses can get started no problem. And this is like, oh man, it's such a virtue, these bankers, like what these bankers are doing. It's so virtuous, because these people are thinking long term about how to, like, they're using their mind, they're applying their mind to long term thinking, and basically making money off of that. It's essentially just using their mind to think long term, which is what human survival is all about. And if you derive your idea of what virtue is from the basic fact that as human beings we need to act to live, and the actions that we take ought to be towards benefiting life. Basically, read the Objectivist Ethics. I'm not going to recap that whole thing here. I definitely shortened it a little bit there and simplified it. But if you want to, so where was I? So basically, this is very virtuous from an objectivist perspective, and the objectivist perspective is the right one. Read the Objectivist Ethics. I can explain all that in other videos if you want me to. This is very virtuous because it's a person using their means of survival, their mind, to think long term and profiting off of that. It's very virtuous. It's very much them acting in their self-interest for a very good thing, and it has all these beneficial effects on society, because the moral is the practical. That which is moral, thinking long term, acting in your self-interest, is going to be practical. It's going to lead to practical results, lead to generally what people consider good results. Because it leads to people creating businesses when they don't have the necessary capital right away. And it basically makes it so that people who save money aren't like just taking the money out of the economy entirely. It's good from an economic perspective as well. That's generally true for everything regarding capitalism. Capitalism, there's all these critiques of it, all these critiques that people have say that the government needs to be involved in these certain cases, needs to force somebody's mind to this extent, but that's generally never true. The whole idea of free banking, of banking being virtuous, just understanding banking alone solves two major problems that people point out with capitalism. Banking is a virtue. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Peace.